This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. Hello everybody, it's Cape Rugby TV time. Welcome, nice to have you along where we take a look at what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. It's all systems go at the moment, heading towards the top of the log where it's crunch time. Teams looking to end up in the top 6 or in the top 3 and also trying to avoid the relegation space. Big thanks to our partners on board with us here at Cape Rugby TV. Of course, Direct Access now on board with Cape Rugby TV. Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy and Intercape all with us here. Let me introduce you to my panel this evening. Jerome Parvater. Jerome, nice to have you back.
Yeah, good to be back again and good to talk about the weekend that's passed, and it seems like was very level, the scores this weekend.
Yeah, Anton Moorman, of course, joining us again. Hello, Mollis.
Hi, Jay. Yeah.
Now, you were saying before we got going that the weather was a shocker this weekend.
No, totally. It I think had a major influence on all the results.
Yeah.
Definitely not the most attractive rugby that could have been played, but nonetheless, as Jerome said, I think a big contributing factor as to why the scores were so close.
Well, we'll take a look at some of the games that happened over the weekend. Of course, Hamiltons were up against False Bay. Tygerberg were up against Unimil. SK Women's in Durban and NTK up against Primrose. We'll take a look at those games. Of course, those matches are shared to us by the Super League A coaches. And of course, our highlight game of the weekend was Goodwood up against Franschhoek playing in Super League B. As always, a local game, lots of fun, and well, the weather certainly did play a role. Stormy weather, to say the least. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. Well, it certainly looks like the action was, well, pretty wet, put it that way. I'll leave the expert rugby commentary up to my panel. Jerome, just looking at the game there, it looks like Franschhoek had the upper hand. They go into the lead 6-0 at half-time.
Yeah, they're pretty much in control in the 22 most of the time. And it just shows, Mullis, as we were saying, that the weather is really a level, can make the score level, because normally Franschhoek would have scored their tries. I think there was about 3 tries that we see that they didn't get the points, but normally normally they would score their tries. So, I mean, in saying Goodwood's defence was good also, but there were opportunities for them to score.
Anton, let's go to you. As Jerome says, rather wet game. It's a bit of a leveler.
Yeah, it looked like Franschhoek had the wind behind their backs, and they had some really good scoring opportunities. Some nice scramble defence by Goodwood to keep themselves in the game. I think 6-0 if Franschhoek had the wind at their backs. I'm not too sure whether that's going to be enough. I don't know what the result was, but it'll be interesting to see and watch the second half.
Yeah, it is always interesting to see the second half. But as the guys were saying, with the weather, certainly sort of levelling the games. Let's take a look now at the second half. Goodwood at Franschhoek. Of course, Goodwood had home ground advantage, so Franschhoek boys had to travel. And we'll see if it was enough. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. All right then, folks, now we'll let our coaches in studio see the final score. Franschhoek winning then 23-0. Jerome, but you can see the quality of Franschhoek. You can see why they are number one on the log in Super League B.
Yes, it is. In saying that, JP, Goodwood really, they also missed a couple of opportunities, but they never gave up. And I think in that weather was actually a good game. But I think also because Franschhoek had to play against the wind the second half, and that's where they're dangerous. They can carry, and I don't know what's that center's name, but he stood out, and I think he's the main guy in the team. If he's there, then it's just trouble for the defense because it looks like he do everything right at the right time. Yeah. And but I'm saying Franschhoek is like No, they're just at a different level.
Well, they've still got a few games to go. Anton, let's go to you. I must say, I think Goodwood were a little bit unlucky on a few occasions. They also looked like they had their opportunities.
No, they definitely had the opportunities in the second half, but I think, France took comfortably 5 or 6 passes, last passes that didn't go to hand during the course of the game. They sped the game up in the second half, a couple of quick taps to try and turn Goodwood around, and I think maybe they were back in their conditioning. Then number 12, as Jerome said, definitely a pivotal player in that team, and it seems like most of the attack revolves around him. So I think he'll be an interesting player to watch going forward. Maybe I'm not too sure how old he is, but it'll be nice to see if some of the province coaches could have a look at him.
Yeah, I'm wondering if coaches like yourself are probably having a look at him.
Well, definitely some Super League A clubs, I'm sure will be eyeing him out.
Well, I can tell you the Franschhoek guys are fiercely loyal. They don't easily move. Right, folks. So then it was a win then for Franschhoek. They are number 1 at the log, and just looking at Goodwood, where they're sitting at the moment on the log, Goodwood on our app is sitting at number 10 on the log, struggling a little bit, but still a great spirit there at Goodwood. The Goodwood boys doing fantastic, and I think that they just had the ball bounce against them on a couple of occasions. Of course, the weather a little bit of a leveler. But yes, Franschhoek then sitting at the top of the log in Super League B, followed by Kuilsriver and Bellville. We'll take a look at those games. Of course, that is one of the monster games coming up this weekend, Kuilsriver against Bellville. But let's first now speak to the coaches and captains from Franschhoek and Goodwood before we go into the break. And when we come back from the break, we'll take a look at our Super League A games before we look at some of our highlighted fixtures for the game. Don't forget, of course, you can win yourself a case of Score energy drinks. It comes up a little bit later during the show. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score energy drinks, and MChem 24-hour pharmacy.
Yes, there are conditions for both sides, so no excuses there. We started off right. But if you make mistakes in this kind of weather, small mistakes against a team in this form, like Franschhoek is in good form, you get punished. As you know, this SLB it does change weekend to weekend. So we've got a couple of games that we can take advantage of with the points. But it's been pretty tough to get into any game for the last couple of weeks. We've had about 2 games in 8 weeks. So with any team you need match time.
Ons het alweer net soos Rugby hulle gehad vir ons, weet. Kyk, weer toe kan ons kan speel die bal in ons kan bounce. Maar vir ons opponente, nie steeds per se vir die seisoen vorentoe. Dis 'n pool of death. 'n Staf win super been. Ons het gefight van onaf en ons is nou hier. Die reis is nog nie om, ek het my boetjies ook gesê ons moet terugkom maandag, maar weer vooropbou vir die seisoen vorentoe. Ons nog baie games oor. Ons kan nou 6 wat voor lê vir ons, wat nog voor lê. En ons moet fight.
Die wen is belangrik vir ons. Ons het dan 4 punte uit die wedstryd uit gekry. Ons sou 5 wou gehad het, maar gegee die omstandighede vandag, dink ek is tevrede. Die decision making van die ouens was bietjie 50-50 geweest, maar het kon beter. Ons beplanning is redelik op trek. Ons lese is ons hou hom daar so tot aan die einde van die seisoen. Soos ons vat dit wedstryd vir wedstryd en so meer punte ons kan insamel, dat ons gemaklik kan wees en aan die top 2 kan eindig en dan extra semifinaal te kan nie hoef te speel nie.
Ons het geweet hy 2 games wat ons by die huis gespeel het is moet wen vir ons. Ons het 5 punte gekry toe ons gesê as ons goed toe kom wil ons ook 5 punte kry, maar die weerkondisie was net in ons kant nie, maar so 4 punte was goed genoeg vir die dag. Het is baie moeilik om top te bly in die league en van die game wat ons moet kyk hoe die log lyk as dit baie tyd. So die 5 punte wat ons in die vandag gekry het, gaan 'n bietjie knouwies vir ons, maar at least die 4 punte away game is goed genoeg vir ons.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score energy drinks, and MChem 24-hour pharmacy. Well, welcome back, folks. Cape Rugby TV. Remember, as I said before the break, you can win yourself a case of Score energy drinks. Just make sure you keep your mobile phone handy, and we'll give you the mobile number a little bit later. Also up for grabs is a set of double tickets to go Newlands this weekend. The Curry Cup kicks off this weekend. Of course, Western Province Rugby is up against the Blue Bulls at Newlands, so very exciting. Stay tuned. I'll give you an opportunity to win yourself a set of double tickets, courtesy of Intercape, the official transport provider for Western Province Rugby, of course. This weekend it was action in Super League A, and of course many of the coaches from the clubs in Super League A shared their games with us. And of course, just a reminder, any clubs out there that have got match day footage, you're welcome to send it to us. Get in contact with us. It's a fantastic way to promote your club and, of course, potentially get sponsors, because your team jersey and branding and everything is on TV, and you can go get some sponsors and tell them that your games are going to be on TV. All right, let's take a look at our first highlight match then. It was NTK up against Primrose, with NTK with home ground advantage. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. Right, there we go. It was, of course, a win there for NTK, 17-10 over Primrose. Jerome, Primrose is going to be a little bit concerned here now. They've played 8 games already. They're sitting at number 14 on the log. They've only won 1, which I think that might actually be the Vix game, which scores, of course, counts in their favour. Close game, 17-10, poor weather. Give us your feeling on the game.
Yeah, look, I think that NNK is not, they prove against bigger sides. They're not a side to take lightly. So I think Primrose actually did well there for that score, 17-10, to have a score like that. And I think Primrose been unlucky against Paul. But one good thing that helped them a bit, they get points out of the games.
Yeah.
So they just need to keep on working and get points out of games, especially away games if you can get. But then now they need to target their home games. And look, it's almost the same as last year where they were a bit in trouble and get the last few games they started to play better rugby. So hopefully they can do the same. But I think for them that's a good result at the end of the day, 17-10.
Yeah. Anton?
Yeah, JP, I think there's a lot of contributing factors, and Primrose are in a little bit of trouble. If you look at where their log points are, if they got the win against Victorians, they should have had 5 points, and they've been getting bonus points in terms of losing closely or scoring 4 tries. The problem is that they at the moment they're struggling to field a complement of 3 teams, and I know that they've been deducted points on the table.
Yeah, right.
So they're sitting on 4, and for them to get themselves out of that hole right now, I know Alistair Tace, who's down there, and the rest of that management team have got a really big task ahead of them. They've brought in some new players from abroad, and hopefully they can turn it around. But it's going to be hard work from here on out.
The key is, of course, at this stage to stay away from the bottom of the log, but Primrose have fought back from this position before. All right, folks, let's take a look now at our next featured game. The interesting thing is how time is catching up now, but the focus definitely, the top 6 guys at the moment, some really big games on the cards. And I think this weekend also we're going to see some big games. But NTK walking away with a win there, and I'm sure the NTK guys will be happy with that, 17 points to 10. Another big game that took place over the weekend, and this was a game that we said last week was going to be too hard to call. It was Unimil up against Tygerberg. Tygerberg, of course, coming back off that Hamilton's win. We've got the coach Anton Moorman in studio with us. He's going to tell you about this, but he was up against another sharp coach, Ishmael Dolly. Before I speak to Anton about this, Jerome, without you've obviously seen the result, but before we go to the game, before this game took place, what were you thinking?
No, I actually think I actually call it a draw because I know the quality teams and the quality coaches.
Yeah.
But again, it's on the day, like we said, this weekend was the weather was actually. The weather was going to win the game for you.
The weather was going to win the game. All right, well, let's take a look and see whether the weather won the game or was Unimil travelling to Tygerberg to take on the Tira on their home ground. And, of course, the Tira full of confidence at the moment, especially after some of their recent victories. Let's take a look. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour pharmacy. All right, then, there we go. Final result then, Unimil winning 27 points to 21 over Tygerberg. Tygerberg with home ground advantage. Anton, I made a mistake earlier on saying Tygerberg won against Hamiltons. Of course, it was False Bay that you guys had that win. No, I know that one will probably stick in the crop with you a little bit. But tell us about the game. Unimil are definitely an outfit. If we look at their growth over the last 5 years, they've had such a great trajectory in terms of their successes. Ishmael Dolly, a very clever coach. But you guys would have gone into this game thinking you've got it in the bag.
No, I think we went into the game confident. We had just won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
So the guys were quite buoyant about welcoming Unimil to Florida Park. It was actually the first time Unimil have played at Florida Park. So it was we wanted to welcome them properly. But you know,
How could
it
it
was
be the first time that Unimil has played at Florida Park? Can't be.
It's the first time they played at Florida Park. According to their executive, it's the first time that they had played at Florida Park since they've come back into the Super League A.
Since since they're back in Super League A.
Yes,
okay,
yeah. And
But even that sounds strange. Okay, well, anyway, we live and learn.
Yeah.
All right.
But definitely a game of 2 halves. The wind was really pumping. But you know, hats off to Unimil. Their pack were really fronted up.
Yeah.
They were nice and physical, and it was we kicked 8 penalties for goal. We haven't done that the whole year.
Yeah.
You know, I think we slotted 7 and
7 out of 8 in the weather with the rain
weather,
like that's not bad.
Dion Talliot kicked fantastically well. But hats off to Ishmael and his team. I think behind the scenes got AD Jacobs as well, who adds a lot of value there too. And the backs really attacked nicely when they got an option, and they scored a really good driving maul to finish the game out. Disappointed, definitely. We got a couple of cards, which cost us. We played for 14 men for nearly 30 minutes of the game. So. But take nothing away from Unimil's performance away from home. A really good 4 points for them.
Anyway, home ground advantage, it does count a lot. In fact, we'll be taking a look at what we call the fan factor a little bit later in the show. We've kind of made a Cape Rugby TV barometer for some of the games that we flagged as big games. And I'm going to ask our panel of experts to take a look at our featured games coming this week and give their input. But right now, if you want to win yourself a case of Score energy drinks, then 33090 is the number that you need to answer. 33090, and you put yourself in the mix to win a case of Score. So just grab your mobile phone and you put yourself in the mix to win that case. And just SMS the word Score to 33090. Congratulations then to last week's winner, Denver Johannes. Denver, you walk away with a case of Score. Someone from Cape Rugby TV is going to be in touch with you shortly, and then you can have your drink Score energy drink. Folks, we'll take a break, and when we come back from the break, we'll take a look at the match between SK Warmers and Durban, as well as, of course, Hamiltons. They were up against False Bay over the weekend. Everybody, it's Cape Rugby TV. Remember, you can find us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV. Share your posters, share your pictures, especially if you've got events coming up and you can tell your sponsors that you're going to be on TV. Then you put their logo on the poster and then we share it, and then you're able to go to sponsors and tell them again you're going to be on TV and you get money for your club. All right, so that's how it works. And by the way, if you still need to know more about how that works, then come to the next media and sponsorship workshop, and we'll explain to you how media process works, how the sponsorship process works, and how you can get more sponsors at your club. That's the program we've been running for Western Province Rugby clubs, and it's been very helpful, and I think that the clubs are starting to take full advantage of that. Right, let's move along. Remember, a little bit later, but sorry, before we move along, let me just remind you, you can win yourself a set of double tickets to go and watch the Currie Cup game this weekend. So that's going to come up a little bit later during the course of the show. But of course, we've still got the matches that have been shared with us by the Super League A coaches. Let's go and watch now SK Warmers up against Durban. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour pharmacy. Right, there we go. Durban walking away with a win there, playing at the track against SK Warmers, winning 17 points to 3. Jerome, when we spoke about this last week, we said, but maybe we didn't think about the weather, but we said that Durban could run into trouble actually at SK. You never know what you're going to can expect when you go to Greenpoint, and it was a little bit like 50-50 also.
Yeah, it was, and as you said, JP, if it was a better day, it would have been because SK like to run the ball and they can play the ball. The weather actually suited Durban with their big pack of forwards, and just a coaching tip there, JP. If you're 5 meters away from your line out, from your try line, it's an opposition line out, and you're not gonna contest, then you must get the guy down, the jumper down immediately. So
that's what you guys in the rugby world call sacking.
Sacking.
You got a sack.
Sacking, yeah. So SK was just, they didn't go up and they were just standing there and did nothing. So Durban, they gave them basically an easy try there.
Anton, you know the SK track intimately. You coached at the Hemis for more than 10 years. SK Warmers and Greenpoint just across the road. But Durban did well to come away with the win here.
I'm sure Johan and them will be happy to be back on the winning track, but it's never easy going to the track. And yeah, you know, I think that as Jerome said, the weather definitely played a big part in the result. SK do like to have the game a bit more open.
All right, our next game, of course, before we go into the break, was the match between Hamiltons and False Bay. And you want to see close games? Well, then this is it, of course. Right, if you want to win yourself a set of double tickets to go and watch the Currie Cup this weekend, then Intercape, who are, of course, the official transport provider to Western Province Rugby, is giving away a set of double tickets to go and watch the DHL Western Province side up against the Bulls this weekend. Just tell us, who is the official transport provider to DHL Western Province Rugby and the Stormers, the DHL Stormers? SMS the answer to 33090. 33090, and you put yourself in the mix to win a set of double tickets to go and watch the Western Province Currie Cup side up against the Blue Bulls this weekend at Newlands. Just SMS your answer to 33090. We'll take a break. When we come back from the break, we'll catch up with the match between Hamiltons and False Bay. Right, welcome back, folks. Cape Rugby TV. Remember, if you miss us here, you can catch the repeat on Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. here on Cape Town TV. We'll, of course, take a look at the fixtures coming up this weekend in a second. Of course, the Currie Cup as well, starting this weekend at Newlands, Western Province, up against the Blue Bulls. All right, Hamiltons were up against False Bay. Let's take a look at the highlights. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour pharmacy. Right then, welcome back everybody. Big game. Hamilton's up against False Bay. Hamilton's of course coming off against a loss last weekend. False Bay also in fact coming off a loss to Tygerberg. So two teams, what some would have said is angry. Mullies, let's go straight to you here. You coached the Hamiltons more than 10 years. False Bay, you managed to beat them the other day. Hamilton's come away with a very close loss here, 5-0. False Bay, I don't know, give us your feeling.
Yeah, I think Hammies would definitely have wanted to bounce back. They would have been gutted with their result against Villagers.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there would have been a big reaction, not only from club, but from the hierarchy at the club. So just, great to see that the boys showed a bit of character and got behind Nicky and Morgan and got stuck into the Bay. 5-0.
Close
Incredibly
game.
close game, and you can see the wind at Hammies is different because it blows directly towards Cape Town. So everything would have happened on the left-hand touchline, which we saw in the video.
Yeah.
Makes lineouts and all that kind of stuff really, really tough to do. So I think Jono will be, while he might be disappointed with the final score.
Well, I don't think they're too worried about it. I mean, they're sitting
They'll be
nice
happy.
and high on the log, False Bay at the moment. Jerome, let's go to you. Is it all about the weather? Was that it over the weekend?
Yeah, Mullies, like what you were saying now, Jono would maybe not be too happy, but on a day like that, you take it. To me, I would say, if I look at the game, how close it was, it should have been 0-0.
Well, all right, we're going to move along then. Folks, Hamilton's then with a very close game. I think the boys at Hammies and Morgan Newman and Nicky Viljoen will be happy with that result. They've got a bit of work to do still, though, but it shows the fighting spirit at Hamilton's and, of course, just how close games can be in Super League A. But certainly, of course, if the weather plays up the way that it does, then, well, who knows? Who knows where it can go in Cape Town. Wet weather, this is, I suppose, what rugby's all about. Anyway, we're going to go into the break. When we come back from the break, we'll take a look at some of the fixture matches coming up this weekend, and we'll take a look at the Cape Rugby TV barometer. There are some big games coming up this weekend, notably False Bay up against Brackenfell and Belleville up against Kales River. That's going to be a huge game. And in the Paarl region, Young Standards up against Paarl Rangers. And for those of you that are interested, Gardens are hosting Caledonian Roses this weekend, and that's where we will be, but we'll talk more about that after the break.
My name is CJ Hendricks. I am 10 years old and I want to become a rugby player. What did you do to become a rugby player? Did you study the sport on the internet?
No, I wish I could have done that. But CJ, I think first of all I decided at a certain age that I wanted it like you. I wanted to become a rugby player. Knew I had to work hard in order to achieve it. Most importantly was when I started dreaming about it and then set that goal for myself, which you've already done, which is very exciting.
Oh, why do you like the Curry Cup?
CJ, because the Curry Cup is the oldest rugby competition worldwide.
Oldest competition?
The oldest rugby competition worldwide. So there's a lot of tradition and history and it's also a beautiful trophy.
I wonder how old that the youngest is.
Right, welcome back. Cape Rugby TV time it is. Let's take a look at some of the other results that came in over the weekend. We'll wrap up with Super League A quickly. False Bay, of course, then winning 5-0 over Hamiltons. Tygerberg going down to Unimill. SK going down to Durban, and NTK with a 17-10 win over Primrose. In Super League B, it was a win for Hamlets, 38-13 over Macassar. St. George's went down to Belleville, 22-19. We saw the win for Franschhoek over Goodwood. Busy Bees with a 13-8 win over Rangers. Vineyards going down to Helderberg, 10 points to 13. And Collegians going down by just 1 point, 7-6 against Kales River. Great result there. And then in Super League C, Wraithby drawing with Kylemore. Scottsdene with a win over Strand United. Blue Jets beating Manenberg. Kraaifontein with a win over Peniel Villages, bouncing back then after last week's loss. Elsie's Rafir went down to Blue Stars United, and Young Wesley's going down to Morning Star. In the City League, it was a win for Violets, it was a win for Masipu Mulele over Hamadias, and of course Gardens with a win over Progress. And then in the Southern League, Thistles went down to Noordlikes, and Atlantis went down to Young Stars. Delft with a win over Solorians, Albions with a big win over Strand Pioneers, Whistling Wheels went down to Stelco, and Blakes with a 13-7 win over Eerste Rivier. While in the Paarl region, Young Standards beat Riverstone 17-14, Paarl Rangers with a win over Peril United, Allendale 36-10 over Paarl, and Lower Paarl beating Simondium 27 points to 7. And then in the NFL League, it was a win for Khayelitsha 21-13 over Silverleaf. All right, folks, those are, of course, your results. We rushed through them a little bit because we want to get onto the fixtures for this weekend, and we've highlighted a few big games. So let's take a look first at the Super League A fixtures this weekend. Unimill up against Villagers, NTK take on SK Warmers, False Bay take on Brackenfell, and Durban take on Paarl. So we've highlighted some of the two games there. False Bay, Brackenfell are your closest on the log in terms of log difference. So False Bay take on Brackenfell. Jerome, Anton, if we look at this, we've given the Cape Rugby TV barometer that we've created here, has created a possible win for False Bay. They score on the barometer, and folks, we'll go through the barometer a little bit later, but we've basically given points to the teams for away wins and home draws and away draws. We've also calculated in the average amount of tries they score, the average amount of points are scored per home game, and we've given a 10-point fan factor for the home team, because we believe the fans at any home club can act as the extra man, if you want to call it that. So it's a 10-point, and then of course that gives us a total score, which tells us the barometer who could possibly win this game. Jerome, if we look at the first game here in Super League A, False Bay up against Brackenfell. False Bay's got home ground advantage. They've been scoring more points on average. They've been scoring more tries per game. They've got a higher win percentage. Will False Bay beat Brackenfell?
On paper it looks like that, JP, but obviously you have to play the game on a piece of grass. So on paper, False Bay look like the team, because if you also look at the average tries per game, it's 7 per game against 4, Brackenfell 4. If you look at the win percentage, it's also 89 to 86.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much pretty tight, but at the end, False Bay look like the team.
Yeah. All right, Anton, let's go to you. You can also see the on the big screen over there. The barometer says False Bay will win this game. Yes, no.
Yeah, I believe the Bay will win. I think that False Bay have lost at home twice, I think, in the last 5 years. That's the record that they... so going to the Bay and winning is going to be extremely tough. I think Brackenfell have had a really good start to the season, but I think they're coming up against some quality opposition now in the latter half.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how they perform against the sides in the top half of the league.
All right, folks, right, let's move straight along then to our Super League B fixtures. Hamlet's up against All Saints, Goodwood up against Rangers, Franschhoek take on Young Peoples, Busy Bees take on Collegians, Belleville take on Kales River, and Belhar are up against Vineyards. Right, our fixtures there for the week in Super League B is Belleville up against Kales River. Many people say this is one of the derby matches of Super League Super League B. Of course, you'll remember that the Belleville-Belhar game was a derby match. So the barometer here points in a very, very narrow margin, very narrowly in Belleville's favour. Belleville, of course, got home ground advantage. That means they get the fan factor 10 points. But the flip side is, of course, that Kales River have been scoring more points. They've got a higher average points and are scoring more tries per game and are on an equal win percentage, 88% win rate. Jerome, if we look at this at the barometer here, this one is so close to call, but nevertheless, the barometer says that Belleville will win this game.
Yeah, it's actually strange. Like if you look at the win percentages, it's 88%. And if you look at, we also know Belleville is a team that can score tries, but Belleville 5 and Kales River 6. So Kales River slightly ahead there. And
so
if
really,
you look at the lock points, also it's even.
Yeah.
And but in saying that, it's home ground advantage to
Well,
Bellville.
that's the difference. That's the difference on the barometer. The big thing that's given Bellville the advantage is the fan factor, where they get the 10 points. Is that what's going to make the difference?
That's definitely, I mean, if you look at the game that Bellville and Belhar played, they actually, their fans carried them through, because Bellville scored at halftime, they scored. And the way the fans were going on, just because of that 5 points, it carried them through in the second half.
All right, Anton, let's go to you. Based on what Jerome has said here and the difference in terms of the barometer here, it's the fan factor that's given the advantage to Bellville.
I think fan factor is a big thing. Tigerberg won at the Bay. I lost at home against Unimil.
Yeah.
So I think that it's who wants it on the day the most, and who's prepared. And this is a top of the table clash. It ultimately could be a decide as to who's going to finish top of the Super League B. I think it could go either way. I don't believe the fan factor will have as much a influence as what it predicts.
But you had more fans, Tigerberg fans at Falsby than Falsby had.
He did.
Let's quickly take a look at the fixtures in the Super League C. Strand United up against Morningstar, Strand and Blue Jets, Gutsdean and Kraaifontein, Wraithby and Elsies, Kylemore and Manenberg, Hands and Hearts and Young Wesleys, Blue Stars and Langa. In the City League, it's Violets and Progress, Silvertree and Massey Pumalele, Gardens and Caledonian Roses. While in the Southern League, it's Young Stars and Peninsula, Titans and Thistles, and Noordlikkers and Retreat. So we've taken a look here at one of the features matcher. We're taking a look at 1s and 5s between that in terms of log differences. And certainly, if we look at the Southern League, Noordlikkers are sitting at number 1 on the log and Retreat sitting at number 5 on the log. The barometer says that Noordlikkers have got the advantage. They've got the fan factor in their favour. And the barometer says Noordlikkers will take this game against Retreat. Jerome, will Noordlikkers win this game?
At home, Noordlikkers also a team knowing that they don't easily lose there.
Yeah.
But as it looked there, 100% to 70%, it just makes sense that Noordlikkers is the favourites.
Anton, you agree?
Yeah, totally. I think you look at points for and points against. I think the odds are stacked against Retreat, causing an upset away from home.
All right, then there we have it, the barometer. Well, we'll see whether the barometer lies or not. Of course, this weekend there are a few other fixtures. Let's take a look at the Northern League. Stelkor up against Windmill United. Solarians up against Blakes. Eersterrivier take on Strand Pioneers, and Delft take on Albions. And in the Paarl region, or at least let's first go to the Simonsburg region, Riverstone and Visante Kraal, Gordon Leopards and Lamotte, Fora up against Excelsior. And then in the Paarl region, Young Standards up against Paarl Rangers, Violets up against Young Gardens, Simonium and Riverstones, and Liverpool and Allendale. The match that we've picked there for you is Lower Paarl up against Allendale. This is a 2 and 3 matchup. Lower Paarl number 2 on the log, Allendale number 3 on the log. Lower Paarl have got a home ground advantage, and the barometer says that Lower Paarl have got the advantage and are going to take this win. Gentlemen, let's go to you. Jerome, Lower Paarl are playing away, at least Lower Paarl is playing at home, and have the advantage on the win percentage. The barometer says Lower Paarl will take this game. Jerome, yes, no?
I would say if you look at the win averages, I would say yes. Sometimes I don't understand in the Paarl region what is home and what is away advantage.
That's true. A lot of the teams are either playing at Dal Josephat or playing it at Fora. All right. Anton, your call on this, the barometer says Lower Paarl will take this game.
Yeah, Joe, I think I'll go with the barometer. Again, I just look at points against, and Lower Paarl have had a really good defensive record, and it scored slightly more points. I think at home, I think they should just pull it through.
Right, folks, that's time for us to make a wrap here at Cape Rugby TV. Remember, of course, DHL Western Province Rugby up against the Blue Bulls at Newlands in the Curry Cup this weekend. Curry Cup action. Go and join our Super Brew pool. Join the Cape Rugby TV Super Brew pool. We have a lot of Curry Cup fun there. Jerome, quick prediction from you on the Curry Cup. Western Province getting ready to get the ball rolling. They've just come out of Super Rugby. They take on the Blue Bulls at Newlands. How are we going to do?
There's always a big, almost like a big derby game, North versus South.
Yeah.
So I think people can go and they will see exciting rugby. And I think it's also for Dobson, because he's going to coach the Super Rugby team next year. So he needs to build and he needs to have a good Currie Cup. So I think that Province are ready to take the Currie Cup again.
New coach at the helm, John Dobson, comes into the picture now. As you heard it from Jerome, he's of course coaching the Stormers next year, so that's going to be interesting. Anton, Western Province, they'll be looking to show their stuff. The Currie Cup is definitely a different tournament compared to the Super Rugby. How's Western Province going to do in the Currie Cup?
Yeah, I think John will definitely be approaching the Currie Cup with his eye already on Super Rugby. He's going to be wanting to lay a great foundation for Western Province. And I think the players will view it in exciting times for them to go out and show him what they're capable of. I think it'll be a humdinger at Newlands on Saturday, and I'm really hoping from a Province side and from John's side that he kicks off the campaign on a positive note, and wish him all the best for what lies ahead.
All right, there we go. Our, of course, support behind John Dobson and the Currie Cup side, the DHL West Province Currie Cup side. Starting off this weekend, that's a wrap from us. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye-bye. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy.